Good afternoon. This is Ken at Tortoise Capital with follow-up number 2 to the Systems Thinking, Strategic Thinking workshop. This is follow-up 2, part 2, looking at strategic question number 7. So I've defined strategic thinking with the following keywords, and you should be able to describe their meaning and their contribution to the overall definition of strategic thinking. The first is that strategic thinking is top-down, meaning that the strategic vision is passed down from the highest level, whether that's political leaders, the company's CEO, or from the strategic purposes of your trading system, to those who carry out the operations, like battalion commanders or the members of your staff, or to the individual components of your trading strategy, down to specific tactics, the execution level, where we're looking for rigorous and ruthless performance against a known standard. So top down, proceeding from strategy to operations to tactics. Strategic thinking is vision driven, that we establish a vision from the leadership level that drives our strategy. It's a description of the successful end state. It's a discussion of the critical tasks that are required to be performed along the way. It's a vision of the operational approach of how we're going to go about solving this particular problem. It can come from a vision of a leader. It can be built by the leader through collaborative effort and incorporating the people involved. But the important thing is that it starts with an end state that we're striving to achieve. It includes a rich set of choices. So a strategy, there's more than one way, or it simply is a directed course of action. A strategy involves choices, the more the better, and then with decision points or checkpoints along the way, where we can assess how we're doing and what choices we need to make at the next juncture. So the system is trying to generate choices as well as make good choices in the moment. We're looking for multiple paths to reach the goal. And then the goal of our operations is to determine which one of those to pick. And so while the system is generating choices, we know that it's still working. It's goal-oriented in that the vision will have a set of specific goals along the way. These could be sequential, parallel, conditional, meaning that if this happens, then our goal would be to do something. And so it can respond to an environment with appropriate goals as we sense the environment and the opportunities. It is method and resource informed. And this is basically a feedback mechanism and a reality check. It says that we have reasons to believe that this strategy and the choices associated with it are achievable. And so we've got to know what methods are available to us, what approaches, what resources are required, and do we have access to them now and in the near realistic future. So method and resource informed means that we have reasons to believe that this strategy is achievable. It uses the criteria of suitable, feasible, and acceptable to judge choices along the way. And so a good strategy defines what is suitable. Suitable meaning, will the courses of action or operations or systems or operational choices, will they accomplish the mission? Are they in line with achieving the goal? Feasible means that we can achieve our purpose, we can perform our missions, we can engage in our operations within reasonable resource constraints of time, people, money, and energy. And then acceptable means that no one who is a stakeholder who has the power to veto us would choose to veto us, that they would agree with the general proposition that our strategies are sound. So we define the criteria of suitable, feasible, and acceptable inside our strategic thinking in order to be able to judge among the courses of action that our operations will generate. Question number 8 has to do, or concept number 8 has to do with checklists. And they can seem to be boring and ordinary. the very opposite of exciting and transformative processes like strategic planning and systems thinking. So we want to be able to place the role of checklists within the two grand processes of strategic planning and systems thinking. And so a checklist is the natural end result of an organized strategy, operations, and tactics, the golden thread that connects those together inside an enduring environment. The checklist is a reflection of our best practices and our time-tested heuristics, and it gives us the ability to ratchet up our performance and to replicate our behavior in standard settings so that we have a baseline of performance that we can manage to, that we can act to. It allows us to document our best work and raise the level of our performance. And so in that sense, it's the end result and an important building block of systems thinking, and it allows us to save our cognitive energy for the next improvement. So ratcheting our performance up through checklists becomes very useful. So systems planning checklists might include all of the criteria that we have to meet prior to taking a trade, or it might be steps in an analytical framework to ensure that we've truly reflected multi-perspectives in our judgment of what's available. It's the craftsman's way of efficiently ensuring that all the hard-won wisdom of our practical and professional knowledge are applied systematically and in a disciplined way at each and every job site on each and every trade. Section number 9, what is meant by the house of trading metaphor? How can it be used as a focus for developing a comprehensive business plan for trading? In this section, we design our own house of trading. Why does that image or metaphor fit you, and how does it relate to the way that you want to operate? If you do it right, this exercise causes you to integrate your values with your approach to trading. It connects that strategy to the operations, to the tactics. And it directs you in the next exercise to what your trading business is going to look like. This is just one metaphor that I use, connected to a soccer club with the actual tactical trading being conducted in a competitive manner here on the pitch, surrounded by fans and observers, writings and pundits, etc. It has ownership, management, accounting, the walk of champions that leads from the locker room and meeting room area out onto the ready path onto the pitch so that I get my game face on and off I can go. I'm being scouted by next week's coaches. I have equipment rooms and practice fields, workout rooms, first aid, quiet rooms, references, and so forth. When I think of my trading in this way, I become systematic for the long term. I am competitive where I need to be competitive. I've contemplative where I need to be contemplative. I have support areas. I have different parts that are represented in my psychological makeup. So this is a metaphor that helps me ensure I'm taking care of all the different parts of a complete trading business. It doesn't have to be this one. You just need to find one that is a metaphor that works for you and use that to ensure that you've covered all the elements of your systems approach. Dan notes that I use a war or a combat model for trading. When I'm in a martial circle against an honorable opponent, this enables me, using that particular metaphor, to focus my mind and to recruit all of my military experiences in support of that purposeful effort. In this case, using the soccer club, it addresses all of the routine activities that I need to plan, prepare, and execute my trading on the playing field. It's holistic, it's top-down, it's integrated, it connects to my business plan, and it helps ask and answer these questions. Do I understand my own beliefs, and are they useful? Are my parts congruent and aligned? Or better yet, are they out of the way, and is my higher self in charge? Am I following the 12 tasks of trading? Am I warming up and whatnot each day? Is my scaffolding in place? Or is the reward to risk structure for each trade in place? Do I understand it? Am I always at least 1-to-1, maybe 3-to-1 when I begin the trade? What's the market type? Is it a practice game? Is it friendly? Is it competition? Is it Champions League? Am I aligned with what I'm doing in all my preparation? What kind of feedback am I getting to develop the next week's plan or the next trade's plan? Section number 10, the diagramming the zero state, describing the components of the diagram and how it can guide my thinking about my psychology for trading. So this is one in which I'm adopting the Marshall circle, if you will, and there is an entryway into the battle circle where my goal is to have no mind in the battle circle. It's just me, naked, 2 hands on the sword. I'm ready, I bow, I fight. And everything is fully committed to being in the moment in that competition. On the other side of the wall, in the ready room, is where I leave the world behind with all the goals, habits, skills, games, thoughts, feelings, preparations, dreamings, emotions, memories, practice sessions, issues. I don't have to resolve those things to make myself perfect in order to have no mind. I can leave that stuff outside of the door to the ready room. In the ready room is that intermediate state where I offload all of this stuff. I stack it neatly. It's going to be there when I get back. I get my equipment ready. I prepare my heart and my mind. I get ready. I enter the circle in a state of zero mind. This ready room for me is a sacred place where I go to get ready for one reason, and that is to be prepared for the battle circle where no mind is my mind. Another view of the zero state is this one. I like to think of the horizontal axis being a time frame of past, present, and future. I like to think of my emotional states as ranging from despair to centered to joy. And maybe in this quadrant back here by the green dot is memories of past pleasures that motivate me to want to get to recreate those moments as I go forward. Maybe there was pain in the past, despair in the present, maybe fear of future failures. All of these locations outside this blue circle are states in which I do not have zero mind, in which the feelings and thoughts cause me to be off my center and not in the prepared state to succeed in the battle circle. And so for me, the perfect location is slightly forward-looking and slightly positive, but inside this blue circle of maybe, I don't know, is that 1 standard deviation? But it's the area in which I know that I have an edge psychologically and I'm prepared to act properly. I want to be just slightly forward-looking to the next price action, but still very close to the present time. And I want to be slightly agitated, not fearful, but alert. And so what you can do with this exercise is determine how you know your boundaries. What is the optimum mental state for you to be in? That means you've got to be able to describe your mental state. So give this one a try with timelines and then degree of valence or charge, and then remember what it's like to be at each of those different locations, and then zero in on the one that works for you to be most effective in trading. This is another zoom in on that. Section 11, the 5 characteristics of high reliability organizations. Why are they qualitatively different than typical organizations, and how can we use those insights to make our trading plans bulletproof? Very, very briefly, the 5 characteristics of HROs, according to Sutcliffe and White, from their book Managing the Unexpected, are the preoccupation with failure, whereas when they look at failure as feedback and creating a learning opportunity. Reluctance to simplify interpretations, so don't oversimplify. Sensitivity to operations, what is actually happening, not what do I think is happening, what do I hope is happening, what do I wish would happen in the future, what is actually happening. Having a framework for interpretation that's systematic, adaptive, and disciplined allows us to make precise descriptions of what's going on according to an adaptive frame of reference. Commitment to resilience, being able to bounce back from setbacks, and deference to expertise, meaning that we've got to find expertise and then acknowledge it and then act in accordance with our better selves for partnership. So these 5 qualities are shared by high reliability organizations, and those are organizations that are operating in a complex environment, perhaps beyond the ability of any one person to fully master, and certainly where many people are stakeholders or network participants, and where the consequences of failure are catastrophic. And yet, nuclear submarines, nuclear power plants, aircraft carriers, firefighters, these are all organizations that are high reliability. They don't fail anywhere near as much as typical new small businesses fail. And why is it? Small businesses have passion and people who believe in it and are fully committed, and yet they fail at a rate of 90% within the first 5 years. Why is that the case? What is it about high reliability organizations that allow them to thrive under conditions of maximum uncertainty and risk? Well, research shows that it's these 5 qualities. And so if we can learn to incorporate those ideas into our trading, then we too may have an enduring, sustainable edge as a high reliability organization. Section 12, making your elevator pitch for your trading business, is all about being able to describe your edge, your strategy, operations, and tactics, your approach, your purposes, goals, end states, and key tasks, your planning, preparing, executing, assessing, being able to say all that in 3 minutes, being able to summarize why you're going to be successful so that you can master the self-talk that will help you get your mind right to let you get into the zero state. We've got to be persuasive in our own ears so that when we are confronted with challenges in the way that the market will do, the market will test you. We've got to have elevator speeches that allow us to stay true to our plan and to follow our rules and to have confidence in our analysis and in our risk management measures. So practice that elevator speech. How can we employ ongoing learning and feedback impact systems? How can we achieve continuous learning? 2 ways. One, we can look for feedback from our ongoing operations internally to try to use value chain analysis or statistical process control to improve the stability, minimize the variation, add to the control of our process. We can also look at the results of numerous systems in our portfolio as a way to gain feedback about the nature of the current market as a function of which systems are firing and working the best. So the feedback we get from our results tells us something about the relationship between the market type and the systems that we're choosing. Dan has a section on why is nonlinear thinking so important and why is systems thinking important too. Nonlinear thinking, I'll let you work with him directly on that one. Considering an existing system in the last section here, what could we possibly do to improve the system? Well, we might look at ways of increasing our feedback loops, both reinforcing and then dampening, looking at internal as well as external processes, using systems thinking and statistical process control to improve our reliability. Use the 5 S's: simplify, standardize, eliminate waste, systematize, see where we can become more efficient. Examining the boundaries and constraints for the assumptions that we're using in the system. Ensure that they're still valid. How do we know? When's the next time we have to check? What are the standards to judge? Have they changed? Ensure that we don't confuse the territory with the map, that the relationship between the system diagram, its logic, and the market are continually updated to see if the market is still the kind of market in which that system can perform. We can take a look at systems risks as ways to improve our system. Can we make it bulletproof, reliable, automated, fail-safe, filters, and redundancies? Finally, I should say, number 16, the design thinking. So design thinking is how we go from true complexity to a semi-structured problem statement that allows us to proceed in the usual way as professionals. So when we are faced with something that is truly complex or truly uncertain, we might start with a decision on how to establish an environmental frame. We do that by drawing a picture and describing that environment and the key actors and forces at work in both picture and narrative form. Once we've understood or appreciated the complexity of that environment, we then establish a problem frame which describes our vision and end state for success, and sets us up to define an operational approach, which is the general way in which we would propose to exploit the characteristics of that environment and the systems that we are employing. So taken together, those are the three parts of design thinking that allow us to move from true complexity towards semi-structured problems that we can resolve in the usual professional analytical way. It's that necessary cognitive bridge between true uncertainty and rational planning. In that sense, these three elements form cognitive scaffolding for us to manage uncertainty and complexity with reliability. So we covered quite a bit of that in the workshop tapes. So those are the second set of questions that completes our discussions for this second follow-up. I'd invite you to listen to the review of the main ideas and check your notes and come back with some additional questions that we might discuss in the third follow-up in a couple of weeks. So this is Ken at Tortoise Capital. Take good care, keep your risk measured, and your powder dry.